Okay, let's start with the global market overview. This is the US S&P 500 futures. Okay, and we are seeing that today is going to make a up bar. Especially yesterday, there is a down move. Okay, this is being triggered by news that there might be a second wave of virus happening in China and Korea. So there's a negative down day last night. So this is the S&P index, from yesterday. So yeah, we're waiting for them today to open, see how it turns out. Okay, and today there's some news that the Norwegian Wealth Fund, seeks to raise 37 billion for their economy, for spending, because most of the countries right now are running budget deficits and giving stimulus plan to their citizens. So they are seeking to raise 37 billion, and part of it is also to rebalance their portfolio as their equities has fallen way below 70%, in which they seek to have, in their asset allocation. So they are also doing that. So most of the thing is they are selling their bonds to rebalance their portfolio. One of the strongest market that rebounded is the Vietnam market. All right, and it did the first rally here. It rest slightly, and for the past week, right, it's been making quite a nice move. And I think this is in anticipation that the Vietnam government is going to ease on their lockdown and slowly restart the economy. So this is the expectation of this whole easing movement. All right, this is the Singapore. Last week I mentioned that Singapore market will very likely be trending on this trend line, and this is not a good sign because it shows a weakness in the Singapore market, and there will be a high chance of it breaking down this trend line and move to the downside. So some of the reasons why I will say this is weak, right, is that if we look at some of the strong stocks and some of the big cap stocks, for example, Singtel, today there's a down move and it's moving below the short-term moving averages of 12 and 26. So it's like turning down, and I foresee that it might be moving towards this $2.50 area. Some of the strong stocks like SGX. So I'm showing all this, right, to let you have an understanding why the Singapore market is weak overall. So this is the SGX after making this new high, right? It only attempted this second high, and averages are already starting to turn down. So this down bar, right, has some high volume in it. There's a lot of high volume in the selling. So it shows that the sellers are getting out, and the buyers are not very bullish at all. This is sets. Sets have a big gap down with high volume, so there's selling in this. You can look at Maple Industrial, one of the biggest cap REIT besides Sanders. Today we are down move with increased volume, so it's not a good sign. We'll be looking at some short-term weaknesses in here. This is Mapletree Com. Similarly, after breaking off, right, and it slides back down to the base area, so it is showing weakness. And one last one is this Capital DC REIT. All right, it makes a high, it makes a lower high, and with this selling by Capital TNT. After it drift down, today it get down and close downwards with increased volume. So it's not a good sign overall for the Singapore market, and it shows weakness. The banks itself are also it doesn't have any much movement. So overall, the Singapore market is I think in the short to mid term is going to go down. So as for the investors, what should we be looking at? This I've mentioned before in the past video, venture. Okay, venture. I'm looking at venture, right, to come down to this price area of roughly about $10.80. So this is from the weekly chart, and this is based off my price projection. Okay, so I'm expecting right here. after this rebound, right, it's testing this trend line resistance. This is on the weekly chart, and therefore I think yes, starts to show weakness. So
Oh,
from
but
here,
that is still quite a bit of a down, right, from 15 to 10, and the
yes,
whole
yes,
manufacturing sector is actually quite strong, though venture seems to be the weakest of the group.
correct, correct. So I'm not too sure what is happening to venture. So we probably have to look at the results to see where the weakness is coming from. So
Their
in
results
terms
are
of
out already last week,
yeah,
down
now
33%. Yeah.
yes, the last week. So the thing is, in the short-term technical analysis, right, we have a high here and we have a lower high. So in this, right, is showing a short-term weakness in coming down, right? And this one is probably due to all the manufacturing sector that is running up, right, that is bullish today, lah. But overall, what I'm looking at is more on the downside. EC World Read mentioned this for the past 2 weeks video that it finally broke off on Monday, okay, and having a 2 rest day, and it is managed to hold well because of the result that it came out yesterday. It did not have much of a damage from the COVID. A lot of the government subsidies or tenant and property rebates, right, given to their sponsor is being passed down to them. So that's why their results they still manage to maintain their profitability. Valuetronics mentioned before in a past video. Today we have a big move, okay, and testing this 200-day moving average. Okay, so this is a cup and handle pattern, and today we have a breakout. So hopefully, so maybe some of you all have maybe entered this stock. To me, I have not entered this. I entered another stock, which is UMS Holding, and it make UMS Holding make a much bigger move, moving up like 16%. And the reason why I chose UMS over Valuetronics is that UMS is already trading above the 200-day moving averages. You know, and today, last night, the result came out as very favorable, beyond expectation, and that explains the move that happened today. Okay, so in the previous video, I already had mentioned this UMS Holding. Same thing is a cup and a handle pattern. There are some other, since we're already in this tech manufacturing, we look at this EM stock. EM, I've mentioned about this in 2 weeks ago video. It was somewhere here, all right, and it has moved off due to results, unexpectedly good results. So with this tail, long tail happening here, we'll be expecting AEM to make a big base following this euphoric move. So some of the, like this JEP, it had a big move today also from the tech manufacturing sector, dealing in aerospace.
And just to add on to that, UMS has I think a sizable stake in JEP, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah. Okay, so probably as a move in tandem lah, in that sense. Okay, for the investors, mentioned Sasio REIT before, a little bit undervalued, 6+ PE, dividend yield of 9+%, 20% discount to book value. So at this moment, it's doing a very nice base here, a cup and handle. Okay, and the results will be out today, either tonight or tomorrow morning, before the market open. So if you want to look for action, if the results is very good, there might be some movement happening tomorrow. Okay. SPH REIT is forming a base pattern at the moment. Okay, and if we look at the long term, it's now actually trading way below the IPO price. Yeah, IPO was somewhere here about $1, and it's trading now at like 82 half. Sorry, 79 cents. 82 half is the resistance. So if we look at the finance, is giving about like 5.6% dividend yield, trading about 17% below the book value, right? And with a PE of 12, so not as fantastic. The only thing why I'm looking at this is that it has a 23% exposure to the medical sector, because we can't find any REITs that, besides Parkway Life REIT, SPH REIT is the only other one that has a exposure to medical due to their ownership for the Paragon Medical Center. Okay, that's all for the investors portion. For traders, what should we be looking at? Some of the stocks that has some movement. This is Penguin doing a nice pattern over here. They declared dividend, a final dividend of like 1.75 cents. Based on their price, is roughly about 3.3% yield. Just this final dividend. So people might be looking to buy this for the dividend sake. This is Keppel Corp. Bear in mind that we have a deal by Temasek Holding for a partial offer for Keppel Corp at $7.30, minus all the dividend, probably about $7. And it's declaring dividend of 12 cents, ex-date on the 8th of June. Okay, so traders or investors, retail investors might be looking to buy this for their dividend and for this partial offer. Okay, when we want to look at trading, right, we always like to trade in the strong sector. Now, the strong sector, if you can see for the past 2 weeks, right, it has been the medical equipment manufacturing sector and the tech manufacturing. So the tech manufacturing, I've mentioned just now in the investors portion that we have companies like UMS, Valuetronics, JEP, AEM, or Hype. This stocks have already ran quite a bit. So in terms of the medical space, medical equipment, not like medical healthcare, but medical equipment, we have here, what we have here is Riverstone. Okay, mentioned I think 2 weeks ago, the video. Because of this run nice move, it did a small little base and it broke off with huge volume, right? And this is quite a tremendous move, 50 cents. Okay, so most likely it's coming to the end of the run for Riverstone. As for its counterpart, listed in the Malaysia and in Singapore, this is Top Glove. So it did here a nice cup and handle pattern, pull up, did another handle pattern, and then did a nice consolidation before it broke off today. Do it in tandem with Riverstone, right? So they mainly make in gloves, protective gears, surgical gloves, full protective overalls, and this stuff, right? So this is in the medical space. Some of the movement that happened. Right. This is UG Healthcare, testing the resistance. UG Healthcare has certain links with biolytics, and therefore its test kits with the COVID-19 test kits, being exported to the US. Some movement that happened. This is Wilmar International dealing in commodities. So we have a strong move the past 2 days. So we might be looking at probably a last move in the commodity space. What happened is in 2007. So after the 08 crisis, right, it has a tremendous move even before the whole market recovered in March 09, but it already started to move off way back in October 08. All right, and it made a new all-time high in a very short period of time. We might be looking at a similar thing, judging at how this 2 days move with tremendous volume in this. So in a similar fashion, we look at Olam. Olam is trying to turn up after being on the downtrend for quite some time. Okay. So from here is trying to build a base, and we can probably look at a pullback, forming a nice cup and handle pattern, and look for next trade to go in. CSE Global mentioned in last week video. After I mentioned, it had a break off a little bit and trade sideways, and today had a small move again. So the reason why it didn't have a big move is because it's not part of the strong sector, of the medical equipment manufacturing and tech manufacturing. Now, one thing that caught my eye is the oil and gas space. Rex International today had a breakout move. This is forming a base, a cup, and a handle pattern. So in this, it's very close to the 200-day moving average. So if from here you can trade sideways to form another nice handle pattern, we can look at a possible trade to go long. All right. So this is what had happened for the past week for the trades that has big move. And as of this moment, I couldn't identify what we can be looking at to trade for the next 1 week. Okay, probably is Rex, seeing if you can rest sideways and go for the next run. So one thing what I see is that in the Hong Kong market, despite being close with China, with the country being locked down and recently is trying to open up, most of the stocks in Hong Kong is actually trading at near all-time high or even above 200-day moving average. This is Ali Health, one of healthcare stock. So yeah, we know they do teleconferencing doctor in China. All right, and therefore this explains the move. Because of the COVID, everybody is being locked down, and this went to a all-time high price of $20.30 Hong Kong dollars. So if you want to look at a continuous trend, I would like to see this to have a deep pullback, and forming a nice base, something like this, to happen before we can look at trading in this stock in a less risk manner. This is Viva Biotech, doing in biotechnology and equipments. So same with some of the other medical stocks in Singapore. It has a big, large move in the past 2 days. Tencent. Tencent is a stock that I mentioned roughly about 3 weeks ago, somewhere about around here, that this is a strong stock, trading above 200-day moving average. So recently, for the past one week, it has broke off, and due to earnings, expected earnings, and it has moved on higher to make a new high. So its all-time high here is roughly about $4.70, $470. Sorry. So its all-time high is $470, and now its trading is about $430, close to its all-time high price. You can look at this to trade on a mid-term basis. Probably look for a pullback setup to enter and hold for the mid-term. Mentioned many times in our past video, this is Haidilao. This is being this all-time high price of 38.70, currently forming a nice base pattern, trading above the 200-day moving average. Okay, so with the economy, China and Hong Kong opening up, I think a lot of people are being starved of nice steamboat hot food, Can probably look at somewhere to trade, above this when it break off the resistance. Just bear in mind that the all-time high price here is 38.75, so there's some leeway for a short-term trade. So similarly for Haidilao, we have its condiment supplier, Yiha International. So with all the condiments, people eating from home, steamboat and whatever, it doesn't affect the COVID-19 lockdown has no effect on this particular stock and continue to make new all-time high. So from here, we would like to go for a pullback on nice base to form something like this to trade on the long. Okay, that's all for today. You guys have any questions or any stocks to look at in particular?
How's Alibaba looking like?
Okay. This is Alibaba stocks listed in Hong Kong. It can be exchanged for the US Alibaba stock, 8 Hong Kong stock to 1 US Alibaba stock. So in this short listing history of Baba in Hong Kong, what it shows me that is more on the negative side. It make a high, make a lower high, and also make a lower low over here. So in this case, with earnings that came up and there's a gap down, it weighs not that favorably for Baba. Even though I know in terms of fundamentals, in terms of future earnings, there's great potential for Alibaba. So we like to see if, especially this support area of 188, if you can really hold or not. Best if you can look at the mother stock where most of the big names, fund manager, wealth are trading in. So this is Alibaba listed in the US with a much longer trading history. So with this being a deep pullback, deep down, and you still managed to trade above 200-day moving average. The main thing is this making a lower high. Okay, and there's a lot of red bars with volume. The sellers are coming in, they are liquidating. So I think there might be a slightly higher chance of a downside move for Alibaba.
Okay, thanks.
All right. So in summary, what we are looking at or probably expecting is a second wave movement on the downside due to probably firstly the virus scare. Secondly, my main concern is still in the Europe, the European countries. How are they going to survive their debt crisis? Because they are already at negative interest rates. They already have huge debts. One of the richest, the Norwegian Wealth Fund, is already looking to liquidate some of their funds, their money to support their economy. So if the richest is already starting to do that, I'm not too sure about some of the poorest, like the Spain, Italy, Portugal, even England, which is greatly in debt, where Germany and France and Norwegian, they do not have any way to help other countries, because they have their own problems. So that is something that weighs on my mind on what's going to happen if a second wave happens. And the next thing is for our Singapore economy is that the first quarter result seems not bad. Firstly, because we only had our lockdown in March, so we only affected like probably 1 month. But in here, the second quarter, we are already in lockdown in April, May. we're opening up in June, which means to say the second quarter will be very badly affected. So what I'm looking at is probably the second wave, a down move, right, might be ending somewhere in July. Once the lockdown is lifted and all the bad results for second quarter has been announced.
Yeah, I think that will be the same for the US stocks, because even for the US, most of the US S&P 500 company do not dare to give guidance for the next quarter. I
Yes,
mean,
yes,
their quarter one number still looks okay because US really just go into lockdown in the first few weeks of March, right? So it's not too different from what we are here.
correct. So and there are already a lot of companies filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy or restructuring, especially in the retail space. In UK, there's also a lot. In the airline space, also there's a huge list of airlines, national airlines being declared bankrupt. So it's just waiting to see the domino effect, which is the second level of companies to be affected. Okay, with this, we end this session.